Good morning, Miss Jamila.
Good morning, sister friend.
You are my favorite health coach, now and always, no matter what
Yes.
happens. I am just all about everything that you have taught me and continue to teach me.
Oh, I love it. And you teach me so much too, girl. Let me tell you.
Well, I appreciate you acknowledging me in that way. And I want to get started by jumping right in and talking about something that is so near and dear to me right now. And that is spirituality. And specifically, it's spirituality in a relationship with another.
I love it.
Yes.
Spirituality and relationships. I love it. So important.
Yes. Well, I didn't know. I honestly didn't know how important it was until recently, until I've
Yeah.
had it.
I'm telling you, spirituality can connect you on such a deep level with somebody in all relationships, friendships, romantic relationships. I think it just connects you at such a deep, intimate level to where you have to almost be careful sometimes because that deep connection can sometimes cause you to overlook things. So, but I think it's necessary. I think it adds such
I
a
want to talk about that right now.
okay,
What do you mean? Tell me more.
how it can cause you to overlook things. Well, I can only speak from my experience with my ex-husband, for example. The connection initially was spiritual. It was very spiritual. And I was like, wow, for somebody to be this young, this is pretty cool that he is a spiritual person. And I only speak from my truth and what I experienced with him. I don't know what he's doing now, but I was very, very much deceived on that journey. And I don't think he wasn't genuine, but I think that he had so much things that he needed to deal with on his own healing journey that it caused a lot of trauma in the relationship that we had. And so the spirituality was fine initially until it wasn't. And so,
Oh, that's so interesting. Let me
yeah,
back up for 1 second because I know we're about to just get in it. And I
yes.
want to start with the foundation of what is spirituality?
Yeah, I think it's different for many people. For me, spirituality is a deep connection with God, and it's a personal relationship with God, and it has to do with talking and praying and seeking God and having faith when things maybe look crazy. Spirituality is just a deep connection. So, spirituality to other people, I think it's very similar in many ways, but it may look a little bit different for everybody. But that's how it looks for me. It's a deep, intimate connection with God. And it's also a deep, intimate connection with yourself. Knowing who you are on a spiritual level, knowing what you want, knowing your values, it brings up convictions that you might have that are connected to your faith. That's what I think spirituality is for me.
I wholeheartedly agree with that answer. And I
Yeah.
think you're right that you can alter the meaning ever so slightly, but I think the heart of what you're saying rings true for me as well. I think it's a deep connection to source, and source has
Hmm.
different names depending on which name you want to give it. I call source Great Spirit, and I talk to Great
Hmm.
Spirit through prayer, by talking to my plants, by talking to anything like in nature. And it is knowing that there is something greater in me that exists and that
Hmm.
connects each and every one of us.
Yeah. Yes. We are all connected. We are all connected. And I think too, like to your point, when you look at nature, I think of the complexities of how it's so similar to us. It needs the sun and it needs food and it needs nourishment. And this might be a little off subject, but I remember like looking at a science. Actually, my son did a science project and he had two plants. One plant, he played jazz music. The other plant, he didn't play any music. It was just outside by itself. It got no love. Okay.
Oh my
And
goodness.
yes, and it was interesting. The one that was played jazz music and it was talked to and it was loved on grew beautifully. And the other plant, it grew, but it was much slower. It was much slower. It didn't move as fast After the project, I think it was 8 weeks, we had to really take care of it. It ended up dying and the other one didn't. So I just think that's interesting.
Oh my God. That is so interesting. And I know with our science minds that this is purely
Yeah.
anecdotal. However, I can feel that making sense. I started talking to my plants recently, and I know that's going to sound a certain kind of way, and I don't care. I do.
Yeah.
I pray and I have gratitude for my plants, and I speak my gratitude through my plants. And I'm telling you, I have trees growing in my living room. I have plants galore, and they look like they're on steroids, but I think the steroids are love. And I touch my
Yes.
plants and I clean my plants. I wipe the dust off my plants and I also sing to my plants. And the plants are in a house of love. Like this place where I live and I call my own is just exuding love.
Yeah. And to your point, imagine when we have that same environment in our relationships. That is a spiritual thing. We have the environment of, let me love on you. Let me talk to you. Let me touch on you. It doesn't have to be sexual touch, like just physical touch. Let me speak to your heart. That type of connection is spiritual. And to the point of the plant that grew from the jazz music a lot faster, I feel like it's the same thing in spiritual connections. It has the ability to grow so much quicker. And people may say, for example, in romantic relationships, people may say, girl, you crazy. It's moving too fast. Like, slow down. What's going on?
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
But if you have that spiritual connection, it's so much deeper than that.
Look at you already dropping knowledge, and we've been doing this for less than 10 minutes. Oh my God. I didn't even think of that. I didn't even think about how feeding a relationship, whether it's your relationship with God or Great Spirit or another human being, be it family, friends, or romantic, you are feeding that. And I don't want to say there's like a fast track to growth, but maybe there is, and maybe that is like totally good, because I think we've been conditioned to think if we do something really fast, that's not good. We got to go on the journey. It's got to be long. It's got to be arduous. We have to like really earn it. And I
Yeah.
think there's something to that in certain circumstances, but when it comes to what you're talking about connection to spirituality and you feeding it love, why not? Why not grow faster? What's the problem?
Yeah.
This to me
Yeah.
sounds amazing.
Yeah. Because I think too, it's almost like our own limiting beliefs can self-sabotage those relationships if we are like, nope, I can't do that. That's too fast. Whoa, whoa, slow down, slow down. Or I just feel like things are moving too fast because, I've had friends who are like, I broke it off. Things are just moving way too fast for me. And that's fine if you feel that that's necessary. But what if your own thought process is self-sabotaging something that could be amazing, but because society or your environment or maybe your parents have conditioned you to think a certain way, you are missing out. So I think there is something to it.
Yeah, totally. Well, let me ask you this question in response.
Yes.
If that person, and I have been that person many times, by the way, that has said, whoa, 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 this is moving way too fast. I'm going to self-sabotage, even though I'm not really conscious of it. It's more my subconscious working.
Yeah.
And only later in hindsight do I become aware of what I did, although I kind of always knew. Anyway, I think that I was doing it because it did not feel right. That was not my person.
Yeah.
That wasn't my person. And for the first time in my life, I feel so excited and so confident in moving
Yeah.
faster than I have in the past because it feels so right.
Yeah.
And self-sabotage is not something I'm afraid of because I'm not going to do it. I'm committed to not doing it.
Come on. That to me is growth. That's growth, period. That's what it is. Because everybody, I mean, even thinking about myself, sometimes you just don't know until you know, if that makes sense. And I think it's
I've been
important.
saying that.
Yeah. Sometimes you just don't know until you're like, oh, okay, that's what it was. But I think it is so important to trust our intuition, to trust our gut, as we say. A woman's intuition is powerful. And when we have a feeling, sometimes we have those rose colored glasses on and we ignore it, but we know deep down what we need to do, what steps we need to take.
Yes.
And I think it's important to listen to that, to pay attention to that, and to pray on it, like really pray on it. Is this what is right for me in this season of my life? Sometimes it's just not right now, which doesn't mean it can't be right later. I always hear people, young ladies, are like, I have a list. This is what I want. I want this, 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 and this, and this. And I'm sure people have heard this before from great podcasters or people who are all about how to find love. So you want all these things. Are you all these things? Are you meeting all these things that you want? If you're meeting all these things, and I think about myself too, then you can attract what you want. But a lot of people are not there yet. They want what they want, but they're not there themselves. So that's important.
It's so important. I'm really glad you shed some light on that because, I mean, I have been all these people you are giving examples of. I'm the list girl. I've been the list girl. And
Me too, girl.
I realized I was writing a list for myself. These are the things that I need to be able to provide for myself.
Yes, for ourselves, that is love. That's a deep, intimate love. And when we have that for ourselves, I personally believe that it will be very hard to overlook red and yellow flags because we're not going to tolerate things because we love ourselves. We deeply respect ourselves. We deeply know what our values and convictions are. And it makes it that much easier, in a sense, to be able to say, that's not going to work. Or it is.
That was going to be my next question, is because I think that a lot of people have the intention of being aware of these so-called yellow and red flags, but
Yeah.
they do other things, myself included. I will focus just on the positive, and I will, in a way, block out and put blinders on to the yellow and red flags that were always there. They were always there, and I will just look through those rose-colored glasses you were just talking about, and I feel like, oh, well, that's just Kat being positive-minded. That's great. But the thing is, that works for just a little while. Those yellow and red flags, they never go away. They're always there, and only until you take off those glasses and put on the reality glasses will you see them. And I think at some point you will see them. And then you got to deal with it way later on.
It's hard. I'm so guilty of that, girl. Like, I'm so guilty because I think even as a woman who is deeply spiritual and I am seeking God and praying, I also try to be optimistic.
Yeah.
Well, that's okay. Let's see if there can be some behavior change. Or that's okay. I see that, but maybe things can shift. Just having this potential idea in a sense. And I think to a point, it can be all right if people are willing to understand and learn each other. We all have to train our partner in a sense to understand what love means to us and understand how to show up. I think that's one thing. But really looking at the yellow and red flags, I think it goes back to your intuition and trusting your gut and using discernment that what's in the present right now is not going to change in the future. We have to focus on this is the present. This is what it is. This is how he or she is reacting. Is it really going to change in the future? If we can focus on the present, then I think we have a little bit of a safety net. Does that make sense? I feel like it made sense in my brain.
It makes 100% sense. What you're saying is people show you who they are the first time, believe them.
Yeah.
Believe them.
Yeah.
They show you who they are, and don't live on hope. I hope they will change, or I know they will be different, or I'm pretty sure they will grow. It's like, no, we need to stick to the facts. Who are they showing up as today?
That's right.
And so we have to believe people because they show us all the time who they really are.
Yeah.
Through their actions,
Absolutely.
through their words, through the decisions and the choices that they make. And so I love that you brought it back to self-love. If you truly love yourself and you know what it feels like to be so confident in who you are, and maybe that confidence comes from, I don't know who I will become, because I am forever evolving and growing, and I love the beauty and mystery in that. That is confidence. But when you have, like you said, that respect for yourself, where you are not going to allow things that do not serve you into your life, and you are going to have enough respect to have boundaries for what is acceptable and what is unacceptable, then and only then can you really see everything as it truly is, including the green flags, the yellow flags, the red flags, everything. You will see everything because you are present, you are paying attention, and you don't have that self-doubt. And I'm not talking about the temporary self-doubt in moments. I'm talking about the overall theme of self-doubt. Like, you love yourself, you are confident in that love, you trust yourself. Trust is huge. If you trust yourself,
Yeah.
then the answers come so much more easily.
Yes. Trust yourself. And I love what you said about setting boundaries. I think in every relationship, you have to set boundaries early. And I've been real guilty of not doing that also.
Me
Like,
too.
let's just let it flow. Let's see what happens. But then something happens and you're like, oh, it's okay. And then it keeps happening and happening until you're like, I don't like that. But now it's been a year or 2 years. And now you want to set a boundary. Well, you've allowed it for that long. So is it really going to shift or change? I have definitely learned that lesson, and I'm definitely in process, just learning as I go, growing, evolving, and it has been super important to me. I've noticed some patterns. For example, when I first got married and I was young and I was still figuring out who I was, I remember I had just come out of a relationship, but back in the 90s, the circle that I was around, we all wanted to be married so bad. It's so beautiful to be married. And I had this mindset, I just want to be married. I want to grow a family. I was so young. And I remember after this breakup, I was actually praying, and it's going to be so long before I get married. Girl, I was 18. Okay. I look back at that like, girl, calm down. But I was like, I don't know when I'm ever going to get married. I was a freshman in college, and shortly after that, I met my children's father. And again, it was a spiritual thing, so I thought, because like physically there was not an attraction. And I remember having so many doubts about that relationship. That's another thing. Pay attention to that, ladies, gentlemen. If you have doubts, don't ignore it. I had so much doubt. But again, I thought it was different because it was very spiritual. And I ended up getting into this relationship because I was vulnerable. I wanted to have something so badly that I overlooked the red flags. I overlooked what I saw from the beginning. And so I think it's very important that we are in a place where we are not vulnerable to the point of you just deal with whatever. You tolerate it because you want it so bad, and so you'll just tolerate the nonsense. We need to be loving ourselves, respecting ourselves, and understanding what is important for us so that we don't fall into the, I just want to be in a relationship so bad. Everybody's getting married or everybody's having kids. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of people like that. And I think that when I was younger, I've definitely said stuff like that. When I was growing up, because we're around the same age,
Yeah.
there were definitely a group of girls who were all about getting married right out of high school. And I was not part of that group.
Yeah.
Well, now that I say that, I mean, I did get engaged when I was 19. So I take that back. I take that back. It feels like it was a lifetime ago.
I know.
It's so hard to remember sometimes because I feel like that was in a different life. It doesn't even feel like it was this life.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. Because you're a different person. You're a completely different person now.
I'm a completely different person now. You're a completely different person now. And from that experience and the many other experiences I've had, I've learned and grown so much. I wanted to go back to vulnerability because I think you touched on something important. You said, and I don't know if you meant to say it this way, but you should not give all of your vulnerability if you have doubts. Is that what you said?
When I'm speaking of vulnerability in the sense of you are so fresh, maybe out of a relationship, or you want something so badly that you are just so open to want to receive something, that you overlook things. I think there's two parts of vulnerability. I think vulnerability is a beautiful thing in the sense of like we can learn so much about each other on a deeper level, especially when two people are vulnerable with each other. But the vulnerability I'm talking about is more, it makes you gullible. It makes you almost naive
Oh.
in a sense because you're just like so open to want something so badly that you ignore things that normally, if you were in a strong minded state, you would not tolerate.
That makes more sense to me. Now I feel clear about what you're talking about. I think it's a mixture of vulnerability and a little bit of delusion and wishful thinking, all kind of wrapped up together, because
Yeah.
it's like you're ignoring everything and you just have this goal in mind. You're like, in this example, it's relationship. I just want a relationship. I don't care what it really looks like. I'm going to focus on the positive because I want that relationship. They go out and get it. And then once they have it, then it's like, okay, now what else do I want? Do I want just the relationship, or do I want healthy communication in the relationship? Do I want to be seen, heard, and acknowledged in the relationship? And when we create the space to explore all of the things that contribute to this healthy and fulfilling and rich mindset,
Yeah.
then it's almost too late in a way, but it's never too late, right? It's never too late. It's just
Right.
that you realized, oh, wait, I've got a lesson to learn here. I think I skipped some steps. I think I was supposed to really learn about how to love and respect myself first so that I could make better
Mm,
choices. And that's all
yeah.
okay.
Yeah. That's all okay. You said something to me before that always resonates. And you said, Jamila, basically, you're in the right place at the right time. Like you are doing the right thing right now, right? Tell me how, do you know what I'm talking
Yes.
about? How do you say it? You say it better.
Yes, well, what it's reminding me of is when we spoke on a previous podcast about your relationship, because I know how hard your marriage was, and it had gone on for, I think, 20 years, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I was 19, almost 20. Yeah.
That's a very long time. And
Hmm.
I remember you saying something like, I wish I wouldn't have stayed in it that long. And I thought, you're supposed to stay in it for as long as you're supposed to stay in it. The number
Hmm.
doesn't matter. You had a 19-year long lesson you had to learn, and it wasn't just one lesson. There were lessons within the lesson. You were
Hmm.
learning how to be a mother. You were learning how to be a mother of 5 children. You are learning what it is that you really want, because we're only privy to what we see growing up. And
Yeah.
that can include parents or our guardians and how they loved each other or how they did not love each other, and all of the experiences that we have when we're young. And you have to learn the rest on your own, and that can be really, really hard. And
Yeah.
so I think that you were in the exact right place at the exact right time when you went through that. And I know you don't look back on it fondly, but I think it was rich with learning, and you got 5 angels out of the process.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's that quote, and I'm probably jacking it up a little bit, but we don't fail, we're always learning. And I'm always
Yes.
telling that to my kids, like, what was the lesson? What was the lesson? I know it feels like a failure, but what was the lesson? And I think if we can really be reflective in all of our relationships and learn from it and grow from it and self-reflect and not just think about, well, they did this and that wrong, because I'm sure people always have their faults, but what did I do? What could I have done better so that when we go into the next thing or the next relationship, we don't make the same mistakes? And I think that's another thing about connecting on a spiritual level is how connected are you spiritually with yourself? How much
Mm.
reflecting, how much growth, how much healing have you allowed to happen in your life so that you don't continue to make the same mistakes or continue to bump your head against the wall? In my own experience, I have learned that even when you do the work, sometimes a trigger will come up in a relationship and you're like, I thought I was done with that. Like, what the heck? I thought I was done. But if you can recognize
Mm-hmm.
it, if you can recognize that it was, a trigger and you can say, okay, let me take a step back, give me a pause. I'm feeling some type of way about this. Then I think that's also growth. And that's okay. It's
Yes.
not going to be perfect, but we really have to do the work. I tell myself, I'm telling my adult children, we have to do the work. It's so important. And I think that really brings so many beautiful connections, both spiritually and emotionally. Like when you do your own work, I don't think there's a limit to how deep that connection can be.
Wow, that is so well said. And I love the emphasis on bringing it back to us because if you try to create a relationship where there is so much self lacking, then that's what you bring to the relationship. It's like you're looking for somebody else to fill those gaps. And then the relationship has a lot of gaps. And it's okay because we learn through that experience. But hopefully, if you continue to elevate and grow, you recognize that
Yeah.
it can be better, it can be richer, it can be fuller, and it can be more satisfying. And so you start working on yourself, and all those areas that may be missing, you start fulfilling.
Yeah.
Not because somebody else is doing it for you, but because you're doing it for yourself. For instance, I'll be vulnerable with you because I trust you, and I'm just hoping that this helps maybe one person at least with something
Yeah.
they're struggling with. But I was raised to believe that the man was the provider. I was raised to believe that the man provided for the woman financially. And so whether or not I agreed with that, that's what was taught to me. And so I
Yeah.
took that with me into adulthood, and that definitely colored how I approached relationships and what my expectations were from my partner. And now, as a 45-year-old woman who lives on her own and pays her own bills and has a nice savings, I feel like, well, how do I feel about that today? And the truth is, there is a little part of me that is scared to let go of that belief entirely because I respect where it came from. And I love the idea of my man wanting to take care of me. I love that. But also, I'm an equal partner. I want to
Yeah.
take care of him. I want to be able to provide. I want to be able to provide for myself. There was a belief that I grew up with that was all around scarcity, and I couldn't provide for myself financially. And it has taken years and so much work for me to break that and
Yeah.
realize I actually can provide for myself financially and be quite comfortable and confident in that. And I can support others in their own journey to attracting abundance and financial security. So
Yeah.
it takes a lot of work. And I won't lie and say that I've eradicated that initial feeling completely because I was taught that from my father. He cared about me so much, and that was his way of showing this is how he loves, is he takes care of his family. He makes sure that their essential needs have been met. And I get that. But does any of that make sense to you?
Absolutely. I think it's a societal thing and it's also a time thing, right? For example, the 1950s, our grandparents, the women had these gender roles and the men had their role. And that's what it was. This is what their children saw. And so their children did the same thing. And I feel like it's a generational mindset in a way. And I'm with you. I think it's important for a man to bring value to a relationship, but that doesn't always mean it's monetary. That could be a part of
Mm,
it. But what
mm-hmm.
value is he truly bringing? Because I know you know, and I know I've talked to some of my younger friends or, the younger ladies, and they're like, oh, girl, he needs to make 200,000 a year, or he needs to make 100,000 plus a year before I look at him. And I'm like, okay, but you could be missing out on somebody amazing. What if y'all were able to build something great together, but you're limiting yourself because he's not making 100 plus a year? And because I've seen that too. I've seen people who come together and they're not making crap. They're not making any money, but they have the same values.
Mm.
They have the same convictions. They're truly connected on a deep level and they come together and go crazy with businesses and starting literal empires together and making money and having so much abundance together. And so I think there's power and not just focusing on the financial side because that's what we've been taught in society. Does he have the
You are
bag?
so right. Yeah. You are so right. I'm glad that you brought that up because I think that was definitely the way my father was taught. And
Yeah.
it makes sense that that's what he would teach. 100% agree with you about wanting my partner to bring in much more than just that. What's more important is having a partner who continues to grow, who continues to show up and is adding love to my life, and I am adding love to his life. And by being in each other's lives, we make our lives easier, better, more fun, more thrilling, all of the
Yeah.
good things. And I understand that the challenges come with that. But showing up as a partner does not mean essentially bringing home the bacon. I think that it means so much more.
Yeah.
I can tell you that I know of many couples where that dynamic exists. And it's not always the man being the financial provider, by the way. Times are shifting where I've seen it where the woman is now the financial provider. So that's really
Mm-hmm.
interesting. But
Mm-hmm.
it has to be so much more than that because money is just this external thing. And yes, we do need it, but we don't need as much as we think.
Yeah.
And there is so much more that cannot be seen that is vital to the
Yeah.
success and longevity of a relationship. And that's what I'm experiencing now. And it feels so good when you can effectively communicate and you can have this connection through spirituality and by building each other up and believing in each other and being there for each other. I think that you will attract everything that you need in order to have a good life. And you may not be rich unless that's something that you want. But I think that now we're going to go into a different topic. There needs to be an intention
Yeah.
as to why somebody would want something, even when it comes to money. Because
Yeah.
if it's just purely out of greed or excess, then I'm not sure if it will work out for the best. You may get it, but you may be deeply unsatisfied. And I've seen that in people a lot. But if it came
Yep.
from a place of wanting to help others, be in service to others, share that wealth, be able to build something that serves not just yourself, then
Yeah.
I could totally see that flourishing and that working.
Absolutely. That's what I've seen too. And just to backtrack just for a second, ladies, we're not saying we want you to be with a bum. Okay. We don't want you to be with the bum.
I
Like,
love that. My God, yes. Yes, we don't want a bum.
we don't want that. He needs to have vision. He needs to have vision. What do they say? Behind every good man is an amazing woman. And I believe that. I have seen that when two come
Yes.
together, the vision and the direction that the woman can bring can just create so much abundance. But I digress. I do think that it is so, so important to understand the value outside of just monetary. People that I've spoken with who are millionaires, who have a lot of wealth, every single one of them that I have spoken with are doing it in service to others. It's not, I have wealth and I have like all these cars and I'm going to buy this and that. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But the main thing that I see them doing is they are giving, they are helping communities, they are building organizations that are helping people tremendously. And I think that is the power of true like richness because it brings fulfillment to ourselves when we can help somebody else and we're not just like holding the gifts all to ourselves. Like what fun and fulfillment is that? So I totally
None.
agree with you on that. The intention behind
Yeah.
why do you want riches? Why do you want abundance in the form of money? Why? It's important.
I hear you. I think it's so funny that you made sure to let everybody know that we don't want bums. Because here's something funny. When I got out of my last relationship, I pay attention to the whispers of the universe, as Oprah says. And
Yeah.
I'm always looking for the signs and just aware enough to be like, oh, that's funny. That song has played 7 times on my car radio in the past 2 weeks. Why is TLC's No Scrubs keep playing? I'm listening to it because it's like, I love TLC, but that song is like, meh, it's all right. But I
Yeah.
listen to the words over and over and I'm like, okay, universe, you don't want me to get a scrub. Okay.
I hear you. I receive it.
And I would never do that. I don't think. No, I wouldn't do that. But I just thought it was funny that song kept playing over and over and over. Like it was like a warning. Like, hey, this guy's gonna have like a lot of stuff, but he gonna be a scrub.
Stay away.
Not interested. Not interested. When you work this hard for what you have, you only have respect for the people who also do that. You don't want
Yeah.
to be with somebody who's lazy or a leech or somebody who's on your coattails. It's not a good vibe. It doesn't match
Yeah.
up. It's not in alignment. For me and where I'm at, it's like I'm a go-getter. I have to take care of myself. I also want to put stuff away because I want to enjoy the finer things in life. I'm getting to that point where I was just talking with somebody the other day and saying, I want to fly business class when I want to be comfortable. I want that lay
Yes.
down flat seat. You know,
Yes.
I want to start the vacation when I get to the airport. I don't want to have a terrible flight. And however that sounds, I don't care. I'm willing
Yeah.
to work hard to be able to pay for that because for me, life is about experiences.
Yes. And why wait for that? I just spoke with somebody too. One of my good friends and my best friend are solo travelers. They solo travel. And my friend was like, don't wait because you just don't know what tomorrow will bring. And I'm like, I got to get it together. I got to have this. I got to this. I'm on that now. I'm setting it up. I'm traveling. I'm not going to keep sitting here waiting because I want to enjoy those things. And life is about experiences.
Yes.
And why do we have to sit crammed up by somebody who's snoring on the airplane?
No, no.
What fun
And
is that?
I also understand that this is not going to always be possible. There's going to be compromise, is what I'm saying. Life is
Yeah.
full of compromise, and I get that. But I think that it's okay and it's fun to have these types of goals. And so going
Absolutely.
back to that, like bringing it back full circle, spirituality in a partner is something that can't be bought. You can't buy that.
Yeah, you can.
You know, either the person is on the path or they're not. Point blank. I think the only way you're going to be able to attract that kind of person, is if you are that. If
Yeah.
I am spiritual, I recognize spirituality in another, and I will
Yeah.
be able to attract that in. If you are not that and you cannot see that and you cannot recognize that, then how are you going to get that?
Right.
Even if you had it, how would you recognize it?
That's right. And I think too, like a conversation we had before, being afraid to talk about spirituality is like a huge signal, right? That maybe we're not aligned in that. And to each his own, but if that is important to you, I know it is for me, I know it is for you. And you feel like, man, I can't say God or I can't say, certain things. I don't want them to be offended. Let me be careful. Let me tiptoe. That
Yes.
right there is misalignment. It's misalignment already. And so we have to be very mindful of our conversations. Like, how free and open and real and authentic can we be in relationships? And if we feel like we have to hold back, I think that's a big, big red flag within itself.
Girl, you hit the nail on the head. And I felt that way in my last relationship. I did not feel free. I felt free in so many ways that were beautiful and contributed to my growth. But when it came to
Yeah.
my spirituality, I hid it. I hid it. And when I did try to be brave and share it, it was not received well, which made me shut down. It made me shrink. I felt small. And I constantly told myself, I feel small. I feel small. And that's not me. I want to feel expansive. I want to feel free. I want to feel unapologetic that I
Yeah.
pray and that I speak to something that I cannot see, but I can feel and I can just know.
Yeah.
And when you're with a partner who doesn't have that same philosophy or mindset or belief, it's really, really, really hard. I'm not saying it's impossible, but for me, it hasn't worked.
Yeah.
It has not worked.
Mm-hmm. It's hard. And I think in the long run, it wouldn't work because either one of two things, the one who's not the spiritual person will become more spiritual, or the person who is spiritual will become small or feel like they're becoming small. And how does that work in the long run? That's not cool. You can't be unapologetic.
Mm-mm.
So spiritual connections are so beautiful when they're right. And I hope that everybody can experience those type of connections because that is so deep and beautiful and intimate. When you know that, man, I'm having such a hard time right now, that your person or your friend, how can I support you? How can I pray for you? Let's pray together. Let's like trust that all things have already worked out for you. Like, that is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And when the other person doesn't have that, they can encourage you. That's great. But what else is there after that?
I don't know. I mean, I haven't been able to sustain a relationship that had all these great things, but that component was missing. And it's only now, recently, that I've realized how truly important spirituality is first. But I said this to someone very special the other day. I said, all of the other relationships I don't take back because in all of those previous relationships, I was growing and I was learning and I was getting the foundational things that I needed in order to get to this level of where I realize, oh, wow, I want a spiritual partner, because with that spiritual partner, we can essentially combine forces and then just explode. just just elevate just
Yeah.
elevate the spirituality to something that is unfathomable. We can experience something that we've only possibly been able to dream about.
Yeah.
But I wasn't there at 20, and I wasn't there at 30, and I wasn't there at 40. I only just got there recently, and I'm so thankful. So
Yeah.
I love that you said that you hope and you encourage people to be able to experience that spirituality with someone else. But I think before that, they need to explore what spirituality means for them,
Yeah.
because not everyone is spiritual, is the thing. And I think that that is 100% okay. People connect without spirituality. I don't know what that looks or feels like, because I think deep down inside, I have always been spiritual, and it's been a matter of uncovering those layers of other people's ideas, other
Yeah.
people's beliefs or non-beliefs. But the spirituality was always there, and I just had to dig, and now I'm allowing it to grow.
Absolutely. I totally agree. Sorry to be so like hard, but you better know what that looks like for you, because if you don't, then you don't know what to expect from somebody else, or you don't know what you're exactly looking for in terms of spirituality or relationship with God from the other person. It's kind of like, I think this is what it is. And so that's super important. You have to know what that looks like for you on your journey as you're walking and seeking out a relationship. So totally agree with you. So important for us.
Yeah, and that spiritual journey, if you decide to go on it, it looks
Uh-huh.
very unique to you and what your
Mm-hmm.
life is. And there's no right or wrong. It can
Oh, yeah.
take a short amount of time, or it can take a very long time. Those words are relative anyways. It just depends on how you decide to perceive it. But I want to believe that everything happens exactly when it's supposed to.
Yeah. Yeah. And one other thing too, don't be surprised if on your journey of seeking God that you find you're in a relationship and you find yourself disconnecting because they're not growing on that same path. Don't be surprised, because I have definitely experienced that. And that's a whole other podcast.
Which we will do.
But until next time on that. But yeah, don't be surprised. It's so important that we just really go within. We figure out who we are, and how does, again, in my faith, how does God see you? How does he view you? And when you have that then it's so much easier to flow into a relationship that feels really good to you. And you can be super unapologetic.
Feel like you just read my mind over here because I wanted to talk exactly about that. And that is, we grow at our own pace. And that includes in spirituality if we decide to pursue that. For me, I grow fast. That's how I operate.
Yeah.
You cannot expect anybody who's in your life, whether it's a romantic relationship, a friendship, or a family member, or a coworker, to move at the same pace as you. That's not realistic because these are two different individuals we're talking about. So it's about how you grow and your pace and being unapologetic about it. If you're a fast grower, then great, wonderful, perfect. There are ways to navigate life in that way. And what I end up doing is I find people as I grow who are at that same level or at a similar level, and I attract them in. And I find that other relationships may not be tended to as much, but maybe later on, those paths rejoin because that's what the universe intended. And I've had that happen in friendships where we started on the same path and then growth happened. And then eventually growth happened on the other end.
Yeah.
And then they came back together. But that's not always the case. Sometimes relationships grow apart, and that's 100% okay. It's very natural. So I think it's a matter of you accepting the kind of person that you are, whether you grow at a fast or slow, or maybe it's fluctuating depending on what's going on in your life, and attracting in people who are going to help nurture and encourage that growth, and being okay with the fact that you might outgrow some people.
Yep. You might outgrow some people. Organically, a lot of relationships do go their own way. And there's nothing against the other person. It's just what happens as you start to grow and elevate. And that's even bringing back to maybe you're with somebody and you're growing and they seem a little stagnant. Maybe that doesn't mean they're the wrong person. They're just not the right person right now. Because it could be that they start to grow and grow and grow, and 5 years later, somehow, and I think it's a divine connection, y'all reconnect and y'all are both at this place. And I think that's a beautiful thing also. But we have to be willing to say, okay, I have grown to this point and I just don't want to deal with where they are right now. Are we willing to let it go? That's hard. That's hard.
Really hard.
But at the end of the day, we have to trust that if it's meant to be, it will be. But that's hard too. That's hard.
I know they're both so hard, but it's really necessary to be reminded of that because so many of us stay in things way longer than we know we should. Like we knew months, maybe years ago that things should have ended and we should have let go, but we stay in it because like we really need to be sure. We really need to be sure. And I will say, me really needing to be sure was almost getting to the point where I really disliked the person and resented them and wanted nothing to do with them. That was my way of being sure. But recently, I've discovered that, wait a minute, I can know that you are not my person. You're not the person I want to be in a relationship with because the patterns are consistent. The growth has stopped. There is no more growth in the areas where I need growth to happen. And I am starting to resent you and I am starting to dislike you. And I don't want that for us because we had so many beautiful memories. There was so much growth. I would like to keep those memories and not pollute them with anger and not liking you and resentment. I don't want that. So I'm going to go ahead and let go now.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
And I'll tell you what, that felt good. That felt so good. And I was preparing for like grief, welcoming in grief. And I'll tell you what, grief came and went. It was so quick because that was so clean.
Yeah.
Emotionally.
Absolutely. Yes. I love that. I love that because bitterness and anger and resentment when you stay too long and you know it's not supposed to be, you're not supposed to be there, will seep in. It did for me. And I'm a work in progress. I'm a work in progress because at the end of the day, what good is it to have all of that on you? It's not
Mm-mm.
doing you any good. And I always tell ladies, and I'm sure, I mean, we've heard of this, when you are completely checked out, you just don't care. You're just like, whatever. I don't really care what happens. That's it. That's it. You are done.
Yeah.
And that was definitely my experience. When I was done with my kid's father, there were absolutely no tears. I did not cry one tear after that separation and divorce. There was not one tear, but I did cry in the marriage. All of my
Mm.
grief was in the marriage. So afterwards, like you said, that clean cut, there was no grief. It was release. I feel empowered. I feel like I can be free again. It's sad that it took so long, but it happened at the right time because I learned what I needed to learn.
It took as long as it needed to take. And that's such a good point, is grief
Hmm.
looks different for everyone in every different case. Your
Yeah.
grief happened during the relationship, so that
Hmm.
when it ended, the grief had already happened. Now was the release. I can attest to that being true in my own. I had moments of grief during my relationship, so that when I came to the end, it just felt like such a relief.
Yeah. Yeah. It was like, okay, I'm done. And
I'm done.
there's no people thought, oh my gosh, are you okay? Oh my gosh. I was like, I'm good. Look, I really am. I'm really good. Really, really good. Yes, there was therapy I had to go through because of the vision that I had for my children. But it's important that we learn from these relationships and ultimately, since we are talking about spiritual connections, really get in tune with who we are spiritually, get in tune with what we want, our values, our convictions. And when that lines up for you and there's a deep, intimate connection, that is so beautiful and it's rare, honestly, I feel like in this society. So when you find that, go ahead. That's what
I
you do.
love that. That's the perfect way to end this conversation. It's rare. When you find that, go ahead. Go
Go ahead.
ahead. Don't worry about the pacing. If it ends up going fast and it feels right, go with it. If you want to go
Yeah.
slow and it feels right, go with it. But just wow, I love that. Thank you so much, my favorite health coach in the world, but so much more than that. You're my dear friend, and we are in alignment, and that's why we attracted each other into our lives a couple of years ago. And this is a blessed friendship that will last a lifetime. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, till next time.
Until next time.